Okay, so look, this couple right here paid off their mortgage early and they have regrets. And I want to talk to you about what happened and how can someone have a regret over paying off their house early. I'm actually a big proponent of paying off your properties. Now, I know that a lot of people say, no, go and leverage, go and get as many loans as possible and buy as many properties as you can because interest rates tend to be lower than the rate at which those properties increase in value, the appreciation. And there is truth to that, but I prefer the get rich slow safely game. I always say the get rich slow game. That's what the real estate industry is. But really, let's talk about getting rich slowly and safely, because I don't like to lose money. I lost quite a bit during the great financial crisis, so I recommend paying off your properties. But what happened to them? Because they regret it, and it's really interesting. A little bit is their fault, and a little bit is just uninformed decisions. Now, to start off, they bought a property, a foreclosed property in 2011, and I could tell you right now, 2011 was the absolute best time to buy foreclosed properties. 2010 was also amazing. So those were the times when some of the best locations were coming up, at least my area, Sarasota, Florida. And these prices were so low and all the investors weren't buying everything just yet. They were starting to, because I was one of them. But the property that they found ended up getting them a $150,000 mortgage, which is actually very attainable to pay off. And by the way, before I go on, just want to tell you that I'm at North Lido Beach and my name is Maciek Zaremba. I'm a real estate agent and also investor in Sarasota, Florida. If you have any questions, give me a call, 941-888-SOLD, or you can just fill out the form below and I'll get a hold of you. And let's talk about the $150,000 mortgage and how they were able to pay it off and why do they actually regret it. So first of all, you know, Dave Ramsey, he says one thing over and over, says, pay off your house, pay off your house, pay off your house. And like I said, I agree with that advice. But Dave Ramsey is not a proponent of having any sort of debt. And apparently this couple doesn't have any other debt. They just decided to pay off their house. So first they got a settlement from a car accident, and that was a large chunk of money. But before they went and took that money to pay anything off, they actually consulted a financial advisor. And here's the catch, right? Their mortgage was at 3.25%, which happens to be what my mortgage is at. So their financial advisor said, listen, don't pay off your mortgage, because if you took that money and put it in the markets, the stock market, you're going to yield a much higher than 3.25% yield. And it's true if you just historically go back. First, I should have said something. This was about 3 years ago or so. So they had the lump sum of money. I'm not sure exactly how much, let's call it $80,000. And they consulted a professional to see what they should do. And he said, put it in the markets. Don't pay off your house. And for some reason, they didn't listen to their financial advisor. I mean, if you're going to have a financial advisor, you're going to pay them for their advice. Why wouldn't you take that advice? I don't understand why you wouldn't do that. Anyway, they didn't. And after a little bit of mulling, sunset right now, by the way, look how nice it is here. And so after a little bit of, thinking about what to do, they decided to first make an emergency fund, which is the first thing anyone should do when you have extra cash, is make sure you have an emergency fund. And second is they paid off a very large chunk of their mortgage with the money. And then the rest of the mortgage was paid off through working hard, saving money, not being all luxurious with their lifestyle, driving an old car. And they had a vision. They had a vision that if they pay off their house, they're going to have so much more money every month because they wouldn't have to make their mortgage payment. Now, mind you, a $150,000 mortgage with a 3.25% interest rate is not a lot of money. In fact, it's very little money. So I mean, it's like what, $1,000 a month or something for the principal and interest? Anyway, it seemed like a lot of money to them, so they decided to do it. and they paid it off. And then, they paid off the rest of the house. And then time goes on, and they were thinking that they were going to be able to get a car that's not 15 years old. They'd be able to go into fine dining restaurants, or at least have more outings into restaurants, have couple date nights and so on. And the reality hit them when real life happened. What was that real life? Real life for them was, first, they had to get a water heater for their home. This is regular maintenance. Whether you have a mortgage or not, that's regular maintenance. And, in my area, if you pay a plumber to replace your water heater, it's going to be somewhere right around $1,500, right? If you do it yourself, you can get it done for $500. So they had that hit. And then the next thing they had hit was the catalytic converter in their vehicle. And I don't know if it got stolen by crackheads or what, because that happens, but they had to replace that. I have no idea how much that costs. I've never had that problem. So whatever it was, they had expenses. And then, home insurance still was due. And then property taxes were still due. And they realized that this dream of owning your house free and clear wasn't as nice as it originally sounded. And you know what? I disagree. It is that nice. You don't have to have home insurance. So that's an option. At least you have an option to pay for that or not. In Florida, the average home insurance rate is $6,000. That's $500 a month that you could be saving, right? And then property taxes, you just cannot get away from. All right, we got the sunset going on here, Lido Key. Gosh, it's so beautiful where I live. Downtown Sarasota is right in front of us. It's no wonder that we have lots of tourism here and lots of people coming to visit the area. And it's no wonder people like me stay in Florida here. So before I move on to the next topic, I just want to summarize why paying off your home is actually a good idea, but you have to be under the right, expectations. Because another expectation that they had was, health insurance is still due, and property taxes are still due, and house insurance is still due, which is optional, but they didn't say that in the article. And, quite frankly, life doesn't become free when you own your own home. So I have no idea what they were thinking. I don't know who dropped this idea in their head that everything goes away. All that goes away is the principal and interest, and possibly your property taxes. That's it, okay? Now, I'm still a proponent of paying off your house because you at least have the option of homeowners insurance. And in Florida, we've had so many issues with homeowners insurance companies, the carriers, who left the state because they didn't want to pay. Some of them filed bankruptcy. In fact, I know somebody who was hit with a hurricane a few years back, Hurricane Ian, and then they went through the process of getting an insurance claim. The insurance claim got approved, and then literally one day later, that company filed for bankruptcy, and everything got held up while this person has an actively leaking roof on their home. Ridiculous. Well, this is what happened. A lot of companies left the state, and now if you have a mortgage, you have no option but to have homeowners insurance. But if you don't have a loan, then you have the option, and at least it's up to you. So life affordability is really the problem, which leads me to the next article here. And this article goes over how millennials feel absolutely trapped and they have no way of getting a home. In fact, 97% of millennials, they face a barrier to home ownership. I mean, it sounds to me like just 3% are really rich and there's no barrier to them. But, let's go a little deeper, because why would they face such a barrier? 52% of the millennials say just one thing, and that would be the prices of homes. They are unaffordable. And it's not just prices, actually. It's prices combined with interest rates, with the cost of borrowing. And I do think that it's absolutely ridiculous in our society how we do it, where millennials, or even Gen Z are trying to go out and buy a house. I don't understand why we don't do it like the foreigners do it. You know what the foreigners do? The foreigners get together as a family and they buy a house, they pay it off. The kids help, the brothers help, everyone helps. They help remodel it. They buy a little place that has a room for improvement. And then it keeps going with the kids buying something and then the family pitching in and paying it off, and everyone just pays off houses. It's amazing how a lot of foreigners do it. Now, surprisingly, only 74% of millennials feel that home ownership is the American dream. And as far as I know, that is what the American dream is. It's home ownership. But I do feel for all the millennials and the Gen Zs that it is a harder and harder dream to reach. But if you go back, because I'm Gen X, right? And if you go back to the generation before me, they had it even easier than me. So it's very easy for me to say, hey, it's hard and I have a low probability of getting into home ownership. Now that's true. And it's true that millennials can say, hey, it's even harder for me than it is for Gen X. And it's easier for Gen Z to say, hey, it's harder for us than it is for millennials. And I think that this is an alarming trend that's happening, and it's been happening for literally decades, where the rise in your income is disproportionately lower than the cost of buying a home. And I don't mean just the price of the home, but I do mean the monthly cost of the home, which is actually a combination of the price and the loan amount, which is interest rate, plus your taxes, plus your insurance rate, plus maybe your homeowner's insurance, and plus your PMI, your private mortgage insurance. So there's actually a lot of costs there. And of course, part of keeping a home and maintaining your home has to do with, the maintenance. Like, you got to redo the roof every few years or fix it, and then you have a water heater, or you have a furnace, or you have in Florida like an air conditioner. You have windows that might need to be replaced, or sinks, or leaking faucets, or whatever it is. These are all expenses you should expect to have. Now, as a renter, you don't have any of these expenses. You just pay a flat fee for renting, and that's what you do. That's what you pay, and you make a call and they repair everything, So renting is becoming more and more attractive to millennials, to Gen Z, definitely to Gen Z, because of the extreme disproportionate cost compared to your income. And just like any millennial, they have to blame somebody. So they are blaming the boomers. 33% of them say that the boomers are actually responsible. And a lot of people call me a boomer, but those would be Gen Zs. They call me boomer because I'm 46. But really, we're talking about the real baby boomers, the generation right after World War II. My parents are part of that, right? That's almost 30 years older than me, okay? 25 in my case. So why are they responsible? Well, one of the things that they benefited from was getting into stocks at an earlier age, having much better jobs with retirement plans, with much better working situations. And because of that, right now, a lot of them are wealthy. Look at these houses. Speaking of wealthy, look at these houses here. Ooh, yeah, right here on the water. Dang, I tell you, it's beautiful. And you see, the boomers, they're to blame because a lot of them have two homes. So they're kind of artificially propping up the price because they're not selling. They're holding on to their properties. I mean, I know dozens of people who have more than one piece of real estate. And I'm not talking about just investing. I mean for themselves, that they don't even rent it out. They just keep it. Their Florida home, their New York home, or California home, or Ohio home, or whatever. Because the boomers had more money, and quite frankly, by the time the millennials become the age of the boomers, whatever Gen Alpha, I think it is, which is the youngest, that generation is going to be complaining about the millennials, just like the millennials are complaining about the boomers. This is just like a cycle that keeps repeating. It's quite possible that it's just the Gen X that's not complaining as much and maybe taking more accountability for where they are. Now, I am completely 100% biased because I am Gen X, so don't listen to me. So will millennials ever be able to afford homes? What a good question. Let's just say that no millennials own homes and nothing changes. The prices don't change and the interest rates don't change. Will they be able to afford it? And quite frankly, I think there needs to be a shift in the new product, in the new construction product, and this shift is happening. One thing that people are doing, like the builders are doing, is they're starting to build smaller homes because the land isn't getting any cheaper and construction isn't getting any cheaper. But if you go and you build a smaller home, you have less materials, less labor costs, less impact fees, and maybe that will make it a little bit more affordable. The other thing is millennials are going to inherit homes. Since their parents own 2 properties sometimes or more, then what do you think is going to happen to these properties when those parents die? And they will die. Well, the millennials are going to inherit those homes. So millennials will come into home ownership, no problem, but it just may not be on the same terms that the previous generations did. So if you're a millennial, what can you do to get yourself into home ownership, home affordability, making it, just better for you? Very simple steps. And the first step is one that for some reason, people have this natural reluctance against, and that would be budgeting. I'm serious. I don't know why people are against it. Budgeting. You need to budget every single dollar that comes through your hands, okay? And budgeting means that you usually end up living less, like below the means that you want to live. One of the reasons why you can't afford, if you're a millennial, why you can't afford a home is because your spending habits. For some reason, something changed in the mentality. The mentality shift happened with, Gen X, then into millennials, and definitely into Gen Z, where they feel like they need to have a nice car. I don't know about you. I don't know when you were born, but to even have a car was crazy to me. Like I can own a car? Crazy. And I've had car payments before, but it seems like the percentage of people that have car payments that are millennials is through the roof. There should be very few people with car payments. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it because I believe in doing the right thing for home ownership, and that means cutting back, so budgeting. And when it comes to the general mindset, there's an entitlement issue, and I don't mean to ruffle anyone's feathers, but if your feathers are ruffled, it's quite possible that you are one of these people, that you think that you deserve, and I do use that term loosely, deserve to have a nice newer car, a 5-year-old car, a 10-year-old car, and you can't afford it because you haven't saved up enough money to buy it. And why haven't you saved it up is because you haven't budgeted, and you have a Starbucks every day, and you go out to eat, or you order Uber Eats. I mean, I have literally never ordered Uber Eats. That is the dumbest waste of money ever. And I think that people who want to buy a house will take the right steps in order to qualify for a loan. And that means you need to get your debt to income ratio in order. You really, once again, it's basically a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. And although the gain is not guaranteed, but the sacrifice is almost guaranteed, it's a hard step to take. And I understand that. It's not the easiest, reality to admit to, that you maybe have to cut back. Maybe you have to stop going out to eat completely, altogether. I mean, if you have any credit card debt at all, you have to stop going out to eat. This is just common sense. If you're living with credit card debt, that means that you're already behind the regular, like you're behind on your money. That's what that means. So if you have debt, that means you have not yet paid off what you have used. You've used some product or service and you haven't paid for it yet. So what do you expect to do? Go buy a house on more credit? That's ridiculous. You really need to get, smacked upside the head to get your head thinking straight. Now, I know it's not what you want to hear, and you're going to say, oh, it's not reality, it's not this and that. Look, this is reality. The reality is you don't own a home, and you think your way is better. Look, do what you want to do. I don't care if you buy a house or not. But I want to buy more houses. So I'm not going to do what I'm talking about, that people are doing. I'm not going to go get a new lease. I'm not going to go get a new car with a car loan. I'm going to go out and just buy it cash or something. Now, I've actually accumulated quite a few properties, and I do have a car payment that is very low, but I'm literally going to have that car paid off within 12 months, and I'm not buying any real estate before then. Right? I'm not doing anything, and I'm for sure not complaining about not being able to afford a property because I don't want to downsize my life. And I know you can do it. If anyone comes to me and they want to have put a plan together to go and make home ownership a reality, I would be so glad to work with you to keep you accountable, to make a plan first of all, and keep you accountable and see, what do you want to do? What is your goal and how can we reach it? And I guarantee you that we can come up with a plan to get you into home ownership. Guarantee it. And if it's a married couple or if it's two people working together, even better, because two people usually they'll keep each other accountable to the spend, but also there's two incomes there to qualify. So that does make it easier. Even if you have zero money for a down payment, even if you have $30,000 in credit card debt, you put a plan together, usually within 2, 3, maybe 4 years of a little bit of sacrifice, we can get you in a spot where you qualify for a loan, you have no more debt, you are fiscally responsible, and then you're going to have a fixed payment on your house for the next 30 years, and you're not going to be subject to landlords increasing your rent, increasing the expenses for your living expenses, and then one day you're going to say, dang, thank you, Maciek, I really appreciate you helping me buy a house and making some money.